Good evening, everyone! Welcome to another Mish-Mashing Battle Lounge with the 2MK team. Had a little trouble getting started just now, and we are now mid-match. Street Fighter V is the best thing, I think, to be playing on a day like today. But my focus is kind of taken up by this current player. So give me a bit before I have much to say, I think. Because they've got really high damage, but not a lot of battle awareness, it seems like. Which means I have to be more on point than usual, for the other reason. Okay, good. Now they're done. Nope, see? There we go again. As usual, I'm facing a player who is most likely just gonna leave me over here. I hope to eventually find players that will actually attack me, or know how to attack me, rather. But so far, nah. Here we are. Still, it's really not that relevant at the moment. This is a Mish-Mashing Battle Lounge, and it is a win 10 Battle Lounge matches day, so it doesn't really matter if I can outplay them or not. Oh, couldn't confirm that. Yep. Get off my lawn.
You win.
Wait, how do we end up on grid? Wasn't I the one choosing the stage? Did I really end up on grid, like, naturally?
Round one. Fight.
Nope, dropped it. Okay, this is about my opponent's limit, it looks like, so they can probably take it. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're necessarily going to get a player that actually has, like, offensive skill today. Which is fine, because we're not really aiming to practice that today, or dealing with that today. It's, after all, 4th of July. We can learn to fight our way around this other way of flowing, as usual. Come on, man. You can do better than that, at least. Apparently not. Alright, I wouldn't have had time for that. But as I have no interest in playing this player again anyway, I'll leave it to Just Vine or whoever's in next. Unfortunately, it's entirely possible that they won't have much interest either, but it's not necessarily that big a deal either way. Looks like DeWolf is up next. And DeWolf probably will have a better connection, but... oh, no, there he goes. I was beginning to think he didn't have much interest in playing either.
Let's do this.
I don't think I'm going to have a lot to say here because this isn't really a match in which it's best for DeWolf to do anything, you could say. When facing this style of player, particularly a Zeku player, Zeku can be played like completely zoning, but he tends to actually need to use more options than just the backing off, as demonstrated so far. But Necalli, lacking a charge attack other than one that is done from a back charge, is likely to have even more trouble than Chun-Li does. Well, let's call it... I call it trouble, but again, it's not specifically that we're seeing trouble here. It's that the opponent is just hitting more stuff. So, from the perspective of DeWolf trying to do something in the matchup, it's not necessarily a good idea to take any actual actions at basically any point. You might, of course, wonder, well, what's the point of that? How are you going to win or play a match if you're not doing anything? But you don't really have to do much to win matches against players like this. It's not about what you can manage to do, or even if you can manage to hit or hurt them. It's specifically that they are trying to mess with a specific thing that you are trying to do, and you simply have to not do that thing anymore. Other than that, the opponent is generally just trying to take up space so that you can't defeat them. And, of course, waiting for you to mess up so that they can get some damage. But when you've realized that this is the case, where the opponent doesn't necessarily have anything they know how to do, you spend more time watching for all of the stuff that they tend to do incorrectly, but don't necessarily understand that they're doing incorrectly. That, for example, is correct, but... oh, got too much meter there. But there are a bunch of setups here that aren't actually even close to real, that are easier for DeWolf to just beat by relaxing a lot. But here we have the negative situation. You can't necessarily clear your way through this without a back charge, but it looks like almost... I don't even know. Like, as I said, it's too difficult to give much commentary or advice in this matchup because it's not, strictly speaking, a matchup. You're not really trying to fight because your opponent hasn't demonstrated that they have any capacity to actually defeat you. They have the capacity to punish you when you fail to defeat them. And depending on your goals for the day in terms of training, you can absolutely use that to your advantage. You can go really hard against the opponent because you're trying to learn how to optimize your own offense. But if your goal is to win, for example, if we, for whatever reason, which is not the case, wanted them off fighting main spot, the better option would be to specifically take advantage of their relative weakness in a particular attack style and hope that in general you didn't make enough mistakes to then get defeated anyway. But I'm not sure that DeWolf's goal today is to do that because this is slight Zeku experience and it is a good way of picking up information about which strings aren't real, so that also helps. There are spacings that are similarly problematic. And Zeku bot, I don't remember if actually DeWolf has a Zeku bot available, but It doesn't move all that differently from this. Technically the bot is better, I'd say, because you can learn more from the bot than you can learn against this player, I'd say. Yeah, in general, I'd advise more so the Zeku bot than fighting this person, but I feel like the wolf has a Zeku bot, which is partially what's... I guess it might be what's helping here? I don't remember if the Zeku bot jumps often enough for the uppercut to be helpful though. Might not have the readiness for the uppercut required. This has always been one of the issues that the wolf faces as a generality, that getting that ready and being on point to understand to prepare the uppercut because the opponent is not posing a different threat is still something he seems to be working on. Are we going to see Cody? Are we going to see Jury? This sort of player generally isn't one that gets just fine to play Bison, but I guess she doesn't care enough, and I don't either, so we'll leave it to Ami Rabbit. Oh, well, they're out. I'm assuming that the wolf... Nope, there is ready for it again. I do of course wish them luck with whatever they're doing. But they're not synchronized today with our particular training point. And I doubt they were specifically trying to learn much that way, so I don't really feel as if they've lost out by not getting to fight us or anything. If you are the sort of person who will generally try to wait for the opponent to make a mistake, but you've still come to fight us because of some specific thing you're trying to train, whether that be trying to get to the point where you don't automatically do that, or learning to deal with people with, let's call it stronger offense. I'm not sure if stronger is the right word, obviously, but people with different offense, then you probably, I should come up with some way for people to make that clear so that we keep on fighting, because otherwise it's fairly uninteresting. But on that front, therefore, please feel free to jump in if you want to train in that way, because we're always happy to add our various crazy offense routes and attempts at misdirection to the training regimen of anyone who would like to experience it. Well, almost anyone. There's that one guy. You know who you are. Or maybe you don't, but if you show up, I'll let you know. I am not as bad for the allergies today. You can definitely hear it in my voice again. And in a little sense it's just us, I might be going back to somewhat being silent today. I'm usually expecting that when the game offers Win 10 Battle Lounge matches as the main thing, you would expect to see more people. Sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't. But we are already into stream about 20 minutes, and usually that means someone will start to jump in. Delayed perfectly.
Final round. Fight.
The wolf has otherwise been seeing some improvement from the time spent playing King of Fighters. A difference in understanding of neutral and for the senses that go with it.
I'm not sure if DNF has been helping much yet. That game probably feels a little unfamiliar. We are having some players who have some more trouble adapting to see the similarities between their playstyle and characters in other games and the one they have in DNF. So there's some shifting to be done there, let's say. Fortunately, that seems to be more so a mental block than anything else, as the characters really aren't that different, and therefore it shouldn't be too long before the players are able to get what they need.
Laura wins.
This is our NA lobby, which means that anyone who is close enough to the Atlantic Ocean that they could probably get there in about an hour with good enough internet should have a decent connection to us. And as far as I know, currently is a decent connection to all of us. Though if you are in South America, it might get a little choppy to some. Also, it depends, of course, on your personal tolerance for lag and frame drops, or rather rollback. Probably should stop picking stage by random, or set up all the other stuff to make sure that the few stages that do cause weirdness in this game aren't the ones that we end up choosing. Whew. I believe that is what we call crispier than usual.
Laura wins. Let's do this.
Yeah, I can already feel my voice getting weird. I'll probably pop back on to say more if I see something happen in this match that is really important to comment on, but as we don't have a specific goal for today, you can expect this one at least, probably the next as well, to be running in silence.
two. Fight. Laura wins. Round one. Fight. Round two. Fight. Laura wins. It's go time. Let's do this.
I think the last few times we faced off, I've been using different characters for various reasons. But today I'm going back to the core concept of the fight, trying to clip Laura's legs with crouch medium kick. And everything else that goes along with that.
Boom! That's how you start the fight and finish it quickly.
Round one. Fight. two. Fight.
Let's see what you've got.
You win. Round one. Fight.
Let's see what you've got.
KO.
That was so close.
Round two. Fight.
Let's see what you've got.
KO. Final round. Fight.
Let's see what you've got.
Sagat. Dare you challenge the king?
I will say it as many times as one needs to say it. This matchup is played by moving away first and then moving into a position, usually by jumping, where Sagat no longer has full control of your approach. So, back I go. Move about here, jump to here. Back off to here, jump to here. I like the choice there. Once cornered, Sagat does have a lot more control, but not necessarily so much that you have to be, like, crippled. This is a very specific type of lag. A very specific type of lag. I'm gonna hope that it's not affecting them terribly, because I think Sagat's situation is slightly worse in this than Chun-Li's is lag-wise. Yeah. But this is not an American flag, so I'm not as confused by what's going to happen here. Technically it makes that easier, but not necessarily in a good way. Yeah, I think they just can't react to stuff I'm doing now. But we'll see if they want to play again for some reason. Unfortunately, if they don't have particularly good connection to me, it's not likely to be good for anyone else except maybe the wolf.
Round one.
And if I risk that, then the wolf might just end up having a terrible experience also. Okay, so all the way back here, jump and then kick. All the way back, jump. Again, remember that this is never about necessarily taking 0 damage, it's just minimizing the damage you take. All the way back, jump. S. Dot, I salute you for putting up with whatever it is it looks like on your side. Because I can't say good on my end, but this is not exactly terrible either. And I shouldn't have done that, because that must have been unreactable. Like, given everything else that was happening, there was no way that was reactable. Unfortunately, it was also, like, in my standard reactions to that particular situation, so, yeah. Oh, I should have cancelled that. Okay. We're back to something bad for both of us, I guess.
Final round.
It's probably better for us both if this is just over.
You win.
So, sorry that you couldn't get a good match. I'm not sure you'll get a better one against anyone else, unfortunately.
It's go time.
All games need to standardize how much it takes to do that.
Let's do this.
I'm gonna have to remember to set up my randomized stuff later.
Chun-Li.
さあ行くわよ
Nekali.
This is a matchup that I think we actually don't end up playing all that often. The usual decision to be made is, should I actually use the jump and force the wolf to focus on it, or play out the footsies so that even more practice on the footsies front can be achieved.
私の
And here I am back in the stage again.
見せてあげる
I guess this is just where we're supposed to be today. Today I'm going to play footsies a lot. I'm going to jump way less. See what we get. As Nekali, your goal is not necessarily to try to get into Chun-Li's space. It is the understanding that you have two really good whiff punishes that don't seem like they should be whiff punishes. Your crouch medium kick and your stand medium kick. From there is a question of how much pressure you want to put on your opponent, how much of the fight you're having you want to be entirely about making sure that I'm not doing something, or that rather that Chun-Li is not doing something. Like right there, that was a good decision for precisely that reason. The more energy you put into making Chun-Li not do something, the more likely your opponent is to switch to a mode. Well, opponents other than me. As far as I've seen, other Chun-Li will switch to their defensive mode, trying to back out of your range to force you to walk forward so you no longer have access to this guidance. And I guess I can honestly do some of that, but it's so difficult to make myself walk backward. How can I challenge people's like bad buttons if I am over there? Gotta get out from under that. This does involve a lot of hiding my intentions though, because the wolf is extremely good at sensing them.
So even when I've got things that seem like they would be really good options, I have to kind of make myself not do those things. Like that. You have to notice that very, very quickly when you're down to no health. It's easy enough to get yourself out, I think, after even up to the third hit when you've got a pixel or maybe 2 pixels. But if you are at 0, you must V reversal immediately. Fortunately, it's usually relatively easy to time compared to most supers that just do strange stuff because Chun-Li will hit you quickly relative to it. I keep on hitting that because games do not standardize which button I need to hit in order to take my turn. I was gonna do something annoying like give me Forgotten Waterfall or something.
Rainbow Mika.
バッチリ決めてくっすよ
No, apparently not. Did I set it so that this is the only thing it will pick on random now? I don't remember doing anything. Is that something like some new default? Where they're not enabled by default?
私のクンフー
My best bet in this matchup is to dash around like a maniac. I have finally learned this as a general strategy. You can try playing footsies, but it won't work. However, your opponent being ready for your movement when you are dashing around is much less likely. See, all of this stuff, like, she can dodge all your stuff, she can get in and out of positions, she doesn't let you stay there if you have other issues. Dash! Dash be like your life depends on it, because it usually does. And it's the only way you're going to get to jump. This works mainly because Mika doesn't have advantage over Chun-Li in a lot of situations, footsies-wise. So it's not necessarily a good idea for her to hit other random things. But having her on the back foot waiting for you to dash opens up a lot more options again. You could start to play footsies again if you really wanted to. It's also the maximum way to mess with your opponent's expectations and therefore their execution. No, that was not a good idea. That was the hardest of routes.
恨みっこなすよ
There is no way to react to know that my opponent wasn't going to move at that point, and therefore that was not a good plan. Note what I mentioned before. The dash's purpose is to allow you to play footsies.
when you finally feel the need to. A general increase in speed will let you put some pressure at least on most Mika players, simply because of what Mika players, until they get to the very top level, are able to focus their training and timing on. She is a momentum-based character with good footsies, which means that in the minds of most people, they are spending a lot of time in control of the match. For example, right here, that's a control point. This is another control point. The only way you can take control away from players of this character in those situations is to put pressure on them before they get to their control point. Without doing that, this is the only outcome you can get. Everything you do from the time you are put into the blender, as they say, is you reacting to something Mika is doing. And you basically don't have any options at that point. It is usually the reason why people consider types of characters like this one to be frustrating or unfair or similar. They have basically all of the control once they have started the system, and your goal should generally be to negate that control in some way as quickly as possible, which is almost always playing rock, paper, scissors with them. But if you don't manage to keep them from ever getting there through some understanding of either psychology or movement, you have nothing. For Chun-Li, who has so many options for movement, you mostly just have to be careful to keep on thinking in that perspective, that the only thing you can do to save yourself from being stressed out is movement. Of course, that's the correct solution from Mika's side. The more Mika uses the V reversal to grab you, to basically control the situation at least that much, the better off she is. Alright then, one more high complexity match for our stream. The lounge will stay open for a bit, but I'm not exactly sure how long. And we don't have new guests at the moment, which is usually a sign that it's going to close up earlier. But if you are watching now and would like to jump in, I'm definitely hitting this thing again just to test it. Please feel free to do so, knowing that you can be just looking for Aurelian for at least a while longer, maybe 15 to 20 minutes for certain. And if you can find me, then you will probably get your chance to play, either because others are leaving or because we'll have fought each other enough and the first person to join in will just get pushed to the front of the line so that they can get their match. Or probably fairly quickly anyway.
Round one.
But as this is our last on-stream match of the night, I'm not likely to have as much to say in general for it. At least it picked my other favorite stage. Active frames.
Round two. Fight.
That was so, like, wow, Omni, why? Why would you do that to yourself? There comes a point where round start flap is no longer a valid opening gambit. I have too much meter for this.
Final round. Fight.
There are definitely still things that need more practice.
Round one. Fight.
For which you can use our bots, which you can find at 2-mk.org. Bots, in this case, referring to things that are using the 5 actions available to you from the game's training mode, entering very specific inputs to those 5 actions, and then setting it to replay on repeat until you get something you want. It's very important to know the length of your legs.
Round 2. Fight.
In Chun-Li's case, that length is long. Tomorrow we'll probably be streaming our Tuesday melt content, Melty Blood, obviously. But if it turns out that we aren't, or more likely that we're not having our Wednesday night in birth segment, hopefully you will get some information about this on our Twitter 2_MK_FGC. As we tend to try to give information there as much as possible.
You win.
But you know what? I'm going to leave you there on the cliffhanger, to not let you know who actually wins this. This is Beryllian 14 2MK. Good luck with your training and good night, everyone.